The science behind sleep. Although we spend a considerable chunk of our lives sleeping and a lot of resources are poured into sleep research, there's still a lot that we still need to learn about the science of sleep. Even though we still have a lot to discover about the origin of sleep and its importance, we are confident about many of its functions. In the past, we thought that sleep was a period where our body and brain became dormant, which couldn't be further from the truth. Why we sleep. Since we previously mentioned a lot of negative ways in which the lack of quality sleep can affect us, it's about time we transition into some more positive information. First, sleep is the most regenerative state we can find ourselves in. This is because during sleep, our bodies release HGH, or human growth hormone, which is one of the most important hormones when it comes to regeneration in our bodies. It helps build, maintain, and repair organ and brain tissue, promoting cell regeneration and growth. When you sleep less than needed, two hormones that go out of whack are ghrelin and leptin, both of which regulate the feeling of hunger in their own ways. Leptin, which suppresses appetite, goes down, while ghrelin, which makes us feel hungry, goes up. As you can obviously tell, this is not a good combination for maintaining your weight. Lack of sleep, therefore, can make us overeat and make unhealthy food choices, further affecting our health in the long run. Sleep also makes it possible for us to learn and form memories. Our mind processes everything that happened to us during the previous day while we sleep, strengthening our neural synapses. This means you must get good quality sleep if you want to learn anything. It's also worth noting that the lack of sleep greatly affects our cognitive performance, making it much harder to recall and learn new information. Sleep relieves us from stress, increases our mood, and makes our judgment sharper. On top of all that, it helps us deal with stressful situations, allowing us to stay more level-headed when pressures get high. The lack of sleep will make your cortisol rise, which, if chronically elevated, increases the levels of stress and inflammation in your body, leading to profound health implications. It also interferes with melatonin, one of the hormones that regulate your sleep cycle. Circadian rhythm. The most well-known circadian rhythm is called the sleep-wake cycle. It's driven by an internal biological clock, which is influenced by various external cues, such as light exposure, temperature, mealtime, etc. The term originates from the Latin phrase circa dies, meaning approximately a day. The circadian rhythm is observed in all types of organisms, ranging from humans to animals, plants, and even fungi. When properly aligned, it will promote a consistent and quality sleep cycle, but when offset, it causes significant sleeping problems and the adverse health effects that follow that. It plays a major role in determining the time at which we fall asleep and wake up, along with other things like digestion and hormone production. The main center that regulates the circadian rhythm is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short. The SCN is a small group of cells found in the hypothalamus, and it receives input from the eyes about the presence and intensity of light. It then sends signals to other parts of the brain and body in order to regulate the sleep-wake cycle and other bodily processes. A disrupted circadian rhythm is usually caused by long-term exposure to bright light during the night, shift work, or jet lag. It's been linked to many negative health implications, including the risk of diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. There is also emerging proof that the circadian rhythm influences the immune system and other processes, such as DNA repair. Mental health is also influenced by the circadian rhythm, as having it disrupted can increase the risk of illnesses like bipolar disease, depression, and even some neurodegenerative diseases like dementia. Needless to say, it's really important to maintain a consistent sleep schedule and get enough light exposure during the day while limiting your light exposure during the night to keep the circadian clock ticking how it should. Chronotypes. There is also some evidence that some individual differences in the circadian rhythm may exist. These differences are known as chronotypes, and they may play a role in determining your sleeping pattern and preferences. While you can train the circadian rhythm by following a strict routine for a certain period of time, the chronotype is not something we can consciously influence. We tend to instinctively understand the concept of chronotypes as we usually recognize people being either morning people or night owls. Chronotypes also influence our appetite, core body temperature, and focus while regulating sleeping and waking times. Understanding your chronotype might help you optimize your sleep schedule and ensure that you get the right amount of sleep for your personal needs, while also being as productive as possible. Chronotypes shift around a bit during our lifetime. For example, children usually have an early chronotype, making it easier for them to wake up early. However, during our teenage years, our chronotype gets pushed back, making waking up early and being productive early in the day hard. This is probably where the myth that all teenagers are lazy comes from. The average midpoint of sleep for kids aged 17 to 18 is around 4:30 a.m., compared to 3 a.m. for people aged 60. Women on average also tend to have an earlier chronotype compared to men, with those differences even out after around the age of 50. There is a possibility that the difference in chronotypes between genders is a byproduct of societal factors, such as doing household work. While the majority of chronotypes fall within a normal range, the full range of bedtimes between extreme morning types and extreme night types can vary, up to over 10 hours. Advanced or delayed sleep-wake phase disorder may be diagnosed in people whose chronotypes make it difficult for them to follow the requirements of a typical schedule. Evening people have more erratic sleep patterns, engage in less physical activity, and get less sleep during the week compared to morning people. They make up for this lack of sleep during the weekend, which can increase an individual's stress response, cortisol levels, resting heart rate, the risk of obesity, sleep apnea, mental disorders, and metabolic syndrome. While evening types could be adept at creative thinking, morning individuals typically perform better in school. It is difficult to tell whether these tendencies are inherent or the result of extrinsic influences, such as the fact that many creative occupations require night work and that school usually starts early in the day. The majority of people lie somewhere in the middle of the chronotype spectrum. Those who fall somewhere in between are known as hummingbirds, or intermediate kinds. In addition, researchers have recently introduced a fourth category, called bimodal. It has been introduced to further emphasize the idea that some people identify more with morningness in some aspects and eveningness in other aspects. When it comes to identifying your chronotype, you can use online questionnaires. The Morningness Eveningness Questionnaire, MEQ, and the Munich Chronotype Questionnaire, MCTQ, are two of the most widely used surveys. The MCTQ focuses on real wake and sleep periods, while the MEQ asks questions about various activities, such as meal and exercise times. Each of them tackles chronotypes from a somewhat different perspective. Dr. Michael Breus created one of the most popular online tests, in which he outlines 4 chronotypes based on the sleep-wake cycles of animals. By responding to his online chronotype quiz, you may determine if you are more of a bear, wolf, lion, or dolphin chronotype. 1. Bear. About 55% of the population belongs to this chronotype. It is characterized by a tendency to follow the sun. They function well during regular business hours and have little trouble juggling a social life in the evening. A bear typically sleeps around 8 hours each night, and their average sleeping hours are between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. 2. Wolf. The wolf chronotype, which equates to the typical night owl, is thought to account for 15% of the population. Wolves often enjoy going to bed at midnight or later in order to foster their creativity. 3. Lion. The early bird chronotype is represented by the lion, also thought to account for 15% of the population. These people tend to get up early and are most productive in the morning, but they might find it harder to maintain a social schedule in the evening. For lions to maintain their high levels of energy in the morning, they typically need 8 hours of sleep each night. 4. Dolphin. The aquatic insomniac dolphins actually sleep with just half of their brains active at once, keeping them vigilant and aware of potential predators. Approximately 10% of the population fall in this chronotype. Due to their uneasy sleeping habits, dolphins exhibit similar weariness as their nocturnal counterparts, including difficulty falling asleep every night and a rarity of a full night's sleep. Therefore, a power nap to increase productivity might help battle everyday fatigue. Sleep cycles. People tend to think about the duration of sleep they get as the only meaningful metric for sleep. However, while the total sleep duration is important, what is even more important is the quality of sleep. The quality of our sleep is determined by how many times we pass through all of the phases in our sleep cycle, allowing our body to restore itself fully. Each phase of our sleep serves a different purpose, so you must entirely go through every phase multiple times to get all the benefits. The sleep cycle refers to the process in which the body transitions between distinct stages of sleep. Rapid eye movement, REM, and non-rapid eye movement, NREM, are two main categories of sleep. A person will experience multiple cycles of NREM and REM sleep over a typical night of sleep, with the cycles typically lasting about 90 to 110 minutes apiece and recurring numerous times throughout the course of the night. NREM is divided into 3 distinct stages of sleep. Stage 1, N1. This stage usually lasts just 1 to 5 minutes and is simply the dozing off stage. Bodily and brain functions start slowing down, and the body isn't fully relaxed yet. Slight alterations in brain activity accompany this stage of sleep. It's really easy to wake someone up in this stage of sleep since they haven't yet moved on to the deeper sleep stages. Stage 2, N2. N2 can last around 10 to 60 minutes, with the average person spending most of their sleeping time in this stage. Our body tends to relax fully as our heart rate and breathing slow down and our body temperature drops. Stage 3, N3 or deep sleep. The body relaxes even further during this stage as it gets more difficult to wake up at this time. This is why people also call this stage deep sleep. This stage typically lasts around 20 to 40 minutes. According to researchers, this stage is the most important for bodily growth and repair. In addition, deep sleep has been shown to improve clear thinking, creativity, and memory, even though brain activity is lowered while you're sleeping. When it comes to REM sleep, the body becomes paralyzed and the brain becomes more active. This is when the most vivid dreaming occurs. REM sleep is thought to be vital for learning, memory, creativity, and emotional regulation. REM periods lengthen during the night, especially in the night's second half. The first stage of REM sleep may only last a few minutes, while later stages might last up to an hour. In a typical sleep cycle, you don't reach an REM sleep stage until after roughly 90 minutes of sleep. Around 25% of total adult sleep is made up of the REM stage.